You all like a bargain, especially on model products. This is how I do it. Many of you will have the same issue as me. Model trains are too expensive and we simply can't afford to get that many of them. So I have to have a look around, and we have to look around at bargains. Consider what train I want to buy, have a look at the price, I have a look at the train, I have a look around and see what everyone else is selling at, and I go, do I really want to get this train? Is it a bargain? And should I get the train? This is how I do it. Particular factors can affect the price of model trains. In particular, the class, because each train has a general price range depending on the class. For example, each Hornby train is different depending on what mould it uses. The price may be higher on Lord Nelson class, and the price may be lower for Flying Scotsman, because more people are going to buy it. In particular of the modern modelling world, the class 450 by Bachmann is one of the most expensive model trains out there, along with the APT coming out by Hornby, and also the class 800 by Hornby, and the latest Intercity 125s by Hornby. Another factor to consider about the train, if this is a bargain or if it's not, is the drive mechanism. If you've got two trains for exactly the same price, and one has all-wheel drive, and one just has a bogie being driven, it's probably recommended that you go for the all-wheel drive, because it's bound to be a newer train. Newer trains tend to have all-wheel drive. For example, in the 150, we have the motor in the middle here, powering that bogie there and that bogie there. The only exception being is the 350 and 450, which has its motor under the pantograph, and that is the powered bogie. Cheaper trains will not have all-wheel drive. For example, we have the Hornby Pendolino here. That won't have all-wheel drive. That just has driven by one bogie there. And if we come around here, the Hornby 156 is driven by one bogie, so is the Hornby 395, and so is the Hornby Intercity 125. That's the older version, that's the Ringfield version. Notice there, unfortunately, Hornby tend to not like using all-wheel drive, and it can be a letdown, because although the trains work off the shelf, if you want to get extra carriages for them, they simply won't run as well as Bachmann trains. If your train is DCC fitted, it is likely to be more expensive. However, if you don't know what the chip is, you don't know how much of a bargain it's going to be, because some chips can cost £10, some chips can cost £40. If you don't know what chip is in there, you don't know if it's a bargain or not. Another aspect to consider of DCC is how many decoders are going to be in the train. For example, in this Voyager we have a separate circuit in each car, which means we have a separate decoder for each car, whereas the 350 over here has a decoder for the full length of the train, because it has a circuit that runs through the full length of the train. It has couplings which carry the current through. Actually, this train would be cheaper to DCC fit, so we've got to take that into account when we're considering the price. Another aspect to consider is the rarity of the train, and especially the livery. For example, when Bachmann produced their 170s, they produced the 171, the Southern one, limited edition to Model Zone. That meant that it could go for £160 compared to the Central Trains version, which you could get for £60 second hand. It is wise to consider, if you are buying a rare train, that if you do have the potential to repaint the livery and redo it for cheaper than buying the actual train, it might be worth doing that. Another aspect to consider is the wheels. Older locomotives and rolling stock such as this will have wheels with bigger flanges, which means they can't be used on Code 75 fine scale track. However, new trains will have better wheels, now has smaller flanges, which means they can be used on fine scale track, etc. Another aspect to consider is the detail on the model. Most manufacturers will bring out multiple versions of models in different dates of time. So for example, the Bachmann 158 The old 158 was reasonably detailed, but it didn't have interior lighting and all of that extra detail. The new 158 will have all of that, which will mean it'll come for about 5 times the price. The new 158s can go for 400. The old ones you can get for about £90. Just want to talk about the age of the models. Older models won't have interior lighting, they'll just have directional lighting. For example, the Pendolino doesn't have interior lighting because it's an older model. It just has directional lighting. Also, older models may have filament bulbs for the lighting, and these may need to be replaced, as especially in Batman trains these have been known to overheat and melt the plastic. And you may also want to change these when converting to DCC, because some DCC chips have a limit for the function, how much current that it draws, and filament bulbs draw considerably more than LEDs. Older models will tend to have not so much detail. They'll have older motors. For example, older models, especially Hornby, will be fitted with ring-field motors. These motors are a pain to service, they won't go as quick as modern motors, and they won't do good slow speed running. So I recommend if you steer clear of ring-field motors, unless you are willing to put up with the pain of cleaning the motor every few months, and especially you might want to convert it to a CD motor, and that will take up time and it will take up cost as well, even though CD motors aren't that expensive. If you are buying second-hand trains and you are willing to put the effort in to detail your trains and to fit lighting, then go ahead, because that is one way to buy second-hand trains. Because I've got this Voyager really very cheaply. I fitted it with interior lighting using LED strips and controlled by function 2 on DCC Decoder. If you're willing to do that and if you know how to do it, it's great, you can do that, and it will save you money. If you don't know how to do that, you end up paying more money for something just slightly better. So it is worth learning those skills if you don't have them already. That's all from me today. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I'll just give you a few facts. On my layout, none of my trains at all have been bought at RRP, and only 2 of them were brand new when I got them. All my other trains have worked well, they work well still, and I'm overjoyed that they're working the way they are. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Please comment, like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.